focus on hitting your goals in every area of your business. Remember, the universe rewards the bold. A leader has to take the risks.
John, I'm so sorry, man.
You're all good.
I'm such an idiot, man. My last podcast just got done, and for some reason I saw 11:15, and it was actually 11:45. So I'm like, where is this guy? You know, I know he's an on-time guy. So, but I'm so sorry about that. Well,
no, this is actually a better time for me anyway. This is actually perfect for me. I was actually kind of excited because I was like, well, actually, I have another appointment after this, like not right after, but it'll give me more time between the next one. So this is great.
No, I love it.
I love the background, bro.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. I like your background too. Looks cool.
Yeah. 5 years we've had this wall, believe it or not.
So I love it. I love it. Well, 5 years I've had this wall too. So
nice. There you go.
We've been living here about 5 years now. So.
Oh, very cool, man. Congrats.
It just happened to come with the perfect Zoom background, right? So.
Hey, you're like, it's not a green screen.
Yeah, it's actually my front yard. So it worked out good, man. So.
Looks good, dude.
But, well, hey, you're on Wealth on the Beach podcast, if you didn't know. And, man, you're in the home-based business. You're an expert at home-based businesses, trainer, personal branding, online marketing strategies, help thousands of entrepreneurs all over the world built their home business empire leveraging social media. So, I'm so excited. We've been trying to get together for a little while, so I'm really, really fired up about this. And so, social media, man, how did you get started in first of all, how did you get started in the home-based business?
Yeah, well, first of all, man, I'm excited to be here and definitely excited to bring your listeners some value. But yeah, I got started actually 20 years ago this month. So 20 years ago, I was broke, busted, and disgusted. I was 20 years old, no background in business, no business being in business. I'd never heard of network marketing or MLM or any of these companies, but I got excited, man. I saw the concept of leveraged income and residual income, and I was like, hook, line, and sinker, take my money, let's go. And then, of course, I went home and told my friends and family, and they're like, yeah, that's a pyramid scheme. Those are scams. And it's funny because their negativity motivated me quite a bit. Like I wanted to prove them wrong. But at the same time, which is kind of funny, Daniel, that first company was shut down for being a pyramid scheme. So it kind of was actually a pyramid scheme, but it was just a matter of finding the right company to align myself with. Unfortunately, there are some illegitimate companies out there, and
so what's a sign? What's a sign?
Good
John,
question.
That we would know the difference between a legitimate company and a real company.
So I've been in 4. 2 of them got shut down in 20 years. And I'll tell you, the last one I was with, one of the big reasons they were shut down was a lack of customers.
So how do you, how would you know if some company was bad or good or, a scam or whatever? What's your thoughts?
Well, I'll tell you this. I've been, in the profession now for 20 years, 4 different companies, 2 were shut down. And one of the indicators is if a company has a focus on recruitment only, where it's recruiters recruiting recruiters to recruit more recruiters, and the product or the opportunity itself is the product. And I think that's where there's a problem in the profession. And you don't see that as much nowadays because companies like my last company, Vima, 6 years ago, I was with Vima. They got shut down by the FTC. There's less companies out there like Vima where they're so heavy on the opportunity. And here's the interesting thing, Daniel. I went to Vima because I felt like they had a great product that an end consumer would love, but the emphasis was still on making money. There wasn't enough emphasis on the end consumer buying a quality product at a reasonable price point. So whether it's a product or a service you're selling, you better have a value proposition where that end consumer is going to buy it, not because they're making money selling it, but because they want the service that you offer, the product you're offering. So really, there's a lot of companies out there that have, I think, since then made a big shift or a pivot, if you will, to focus more on customer acquisition. Because it really is, by the way, that really is the foundation to any decent company in network marketing and outside of network marketing, your business better have legit customers.
Well, this is the reason why we have this, big disconnect between, so many people not wanting to be a part of, quote unquote MLM or direct marketing or whatever, because again, they all had a cousin that tried this one thing one time, and then he tried it and he went through his whole warm market. And the next thing you know, he was out of business, and that's why I think people are so, disconnected. They're so reluctant to try new things and to go for new things. And so how do you overcome that with, that person that feels that way? What are some of the things you might say to somebody that's reluctant to give something a shot because of their past cousin had this experience?
I do my best to relate to people because I think, my story is relatable. I think my background is relatable. And I just listen to people, when they talk about some of their experiences, and I'm like, yeah, I hear that. Here was my experience, constantly doing three-way calls, constantly doing PBRs, never being home with my family. It was all about recruiters recruiting recruiters to recruit recruiters. We didn't have a lot of customer acquisition. We didn't have a lot of satisfied customers. We didn't have real retention, real residuals. Most of the people that I enrolled failed. Most of the people I enrolled weren't making money. And even some of my top, leaders, I always say leaders is like a loosely used word in network marketing. It's like, he's a team leader and he's got like 3 people on his team. He has no idea what he's doing. It's not really a leader, but they got the little pin on their lapel. But the fact of the matter is a lot of my leaders started off strong, made a bunch of money, and then it all fell apart because, and you just said it, they ran out of their warm market. The downline they had, didn't have a great warm market, and things, kind of plateaued, declined, and eventually just went kaput. And I just felt like there had to be a better way to build a business. If I could teach people how to leverage social media, how to build a following, how to not need and not necessarily have to rely on a quality warm market. Like, what if you could build your entire business without ever talking to a friend or family member, without ever having to proactively reach out to people because they're reaching out to you? And we started teaching people how to leverage social media so that they could build a following. They could build, a credible brand where people want to engage with them. They want to interact with them. And it does take time, which is why I still encourage people to start with the people they're already connected with. But that's not necessarily the only way to build a business in 2021 and beyond. And I know you've done a great job with this, right? That's how you and I connected. You were creating content, building a personal brand, and realizing the power in social media and building up that social equity so that people come to you and you're not just reliant on having to find people to talk to about your product or opportunity.
Yeah, my last 2 locations that we opened up that I helped to mentor directly came from social media. So I can't imagine. I did one of the first social media trainings with the company back, 7 years ago. And it's interesting because the guy that I met through social media, and he was just an old friend from high school, but I didn't know his phone number. I didn't know who he was. And so I just was sending some DMs and, hey, how's it going? How's the family? How are you? Just trying to connect with people. Next thing you know, I end up recruiting the guy. His uncle, he quit, but his uncle stayed with me and he just became a VP with the company and opening up his own location. And another lady, before them, she just showed up to my office. She's like, I've been watching you on social media. I've been watching all your content. She shows up to one of our orientation meetings. I end up recruiting her. She becomes a VP. So, this is literally like what you're saying is so important that people get it. And why do people struggle, John, so much with this concept of building it through social media?
Well, it's funny because I just did a leadership training in one of our groups, and I said, there might be 30,000 people in a network marketing group, and less than 1% of them are even posting in the group. Because I think, number one, well, of course, people are not making it a priority. They don't understand the value in consistently creating content. Obviously, you know about that. I know about that. We're all about that life. But, you know, the truth is, I think people are afraid of rejection. They're afraid of embarrassment. They don't want to start small. They're too embarrassed to start small. They're worried about the judgment of their friends and family. Like, you know, I can't tell how many times I've heard like, you know, well, I do videos in my team group. I'll do videos in my team page, you know, but they won't do videos or they won't post on their page, on their public page, their news feed, right? Their profile, because they're worried like, you know, their father-in-law is going to see it or their, you know, negative brother's going to see it. And they're so worried about these, you know, few people. It's typically not them worried about hundreds of people. They're worried about like 5 to 10 people and what they think. And I'm like, dude, delete them then. Like, if they're going to be nasty or negative, or they're going to pick on you and they're going to, you know, bust your balls because you're starting a business and you're wanting to, you know, be the best version of yourself and increase your wealth and build something significant. And you're wanting to leverage social media to build a business because you understand there's freaking children out there that are making slime and they're making money on YouTube. Or how about this? I mean, you and I grew up in the same era, right? Like kids are now making money playing freaking video games. They're playing a video game while 6,000 other kids are watching them through live streaming play that video game, and they're making money. So the fact that children are making money playing video games and making slime, what's your excuse? You're afraid of what your Uncle Tom thinks? You know, you're worried about, you know, your cousin Susie or your coworker Kim and what they're going to say when they see you post videos and put yourself out there. Screw those people, delete them. Or and sometimes people are like, well, I don't want to just delete my cousins and delete my friends and family. You don't have to delete them necessarily, but confront them if they're negative. Confront them if they start messing with your business, messing with what you're trying to do. Because here's the truth. And Daniel, I'm sure you're in the same boat. At this point, when I post on social media, the people loving, commenting, and engaging with me, they're not people I grew up with. They're not people I used to work with. It's people that I'm now connected with or have connected with over the last 6, 7, 10 years on social media. I'm not worried about all those people like I used to be. I used to have those same doubts and fears and worry about what are people going to think about me doing videos and creating content. The people I was worried about back then, I'm not even connected with those people anymore.
My best friend, John, I mean, he just was so rude to me when I first started in business, and we did everything together. He lived down the street from me. We did everything together. We were, you know, it was a great relationship. I ended up starting in business. I did pretty okay right off the gate, and there was a big event that they were having, and I was going to get all these trophies and awards and all this stuff. So I said, hey, come check it out. I know you're not interested in the business. I don't care. Just be a supporter or be a friend of mine and come and check it out. And he sat in the back row and he was griping and complaining the whole time. And, 5 minutes later, he got up and he just completely left the meeting. And, and I really did. I got a bunch of awards that night, and it was like a fast start award or something like that. And the next day I called him up and I said, are you okay? Like, are you sick or what's wrong? And then he just slammed me with, it's a pyramid. It doesn't work. And, you're never going to make it. You need to stay in school and all this stuff. And it's interesting because, looking back, I am so thankful for that guy.
Yeah.
His name's Adam. And, people ever, if they know who I am, they'll probably, if they knew me a long time ago, they know who he is. But I thank God for that dude, because if not for him being such an asshole, really, I don't know if I would have gotten as far, because like when that happened, it made me even want to win even more, because I said, you know what, dude, I'm not asking you to buy anything. I'm not being a obnoxious guy trying to recruit you. And if you don't join my business, we're going to not be friends. I never did any of that stuff. I was like, just be my friend, man. Support me. Say some nice things about me. Who knows? Maybe you'll refer somebody to me in the future. But man, I drew the line in the sand, John. And I said, dude, if you ain't going to support me or at least be nice to me, then we can't be friends. And the truth is, man, it's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. And so how did you grow up, John? Where did you grow up, first of all? What kind of kid were you? Good kid, bad kid?
Probably like most of the top network marketing leaders that I've met, a rebel, loved to party, got in lots of trouble, hated school, so it's funny when you, like, a lot of your story is very relatable. Yeah. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And I think it's sad because back in my day, and probably a lot like your upbringing, it was like taught to go to school, get a degree, and get a job. And basically, if you weren't on that path, you were a loser, right? Like there was something wrong with you. And I felt like I felt like there was something wrong with me. And then I see network marketing. I'm like, dude, like, why wasn't I aware of this? Like, I didn't know you could like start your own business, be an entrepreneur. Like, sure, there's things about, especially network marketing 20 years ago, there were some very shady things. But the truth is it opened the world to me. It let me know that there were other things out there that you didn't necessarily need a college education for. So I grew up in Annapolis, Maryland, born and raised. I still live in Maryland today, about 40 minutes north of where I grew up. And, it was really challenging, as I think it is for most people when they first get involved in network marketing, switching to this entrepreneur mindset. And if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Work harder on yourself and you doing your job, really developing skills and all the things. But what was interesting is I loved going to the events. I loved learning from these millionaires. And I found it funny that I hated school so much. And I was such a terrible student that got in so much trouble, partied on the weekends, drank, did drugs. Like I actually quit drinking 13 years ago because I knew it was a problem for me. Some people can drink a couple glasses of wine. I would drink a couple bottles, and that's like pre-gaming, right? Drink a couple cases. Like I just partied hard, and girls were interesting. Hanging out with my buddies, that was interesting. I got in a ton of fights, actually. I got expelled my senior year. I went to jail for 10 days for fighting. I mean, I was a problem child. Network marketing saved my life. And I met my amazing wife, Nadya. Her and I are in business together. So even though that first company went out of business, the lessons learned, the experience, the connections, obviously meeting my wife, just everything changed for me because I said yes and took a chance, because I realized very early on, thank God, getting started in network marketing, it would probably be riskier for me not to do it. It'd be riskier for me to continue down the path I was on versus trying something different and being not confident, but courageous enough to do something and give it a shot and see what happens. And obviously that first company didn't work out, but the profession as a whole absolutely changed my life. And I can't even imagine how many people, that came across our path over the years that would not have been impacted if we were fearful and decided not to pursue this amazing profession.
Yeah. I mean, my mentor, he traveled through a couple of different companies before he ended up picking, our company today. And the guys made $80 million. So, I mean, you think about it, you are that perfect example of like, don't give up, man. I'm like, for me, I kind of got lucky. I picked the first company, ended up being the company I'm still with. And
that's awesome. Yeah.
Being a great company. And, obviously made all my dreams come true and all that stuff. But man, it's like to go through that, because there's so many people even listening and watching right now, they've tried other things. And what tragedy to say, like when you're 85 years old and you're like, man, if I would have just, kept on keeping on, if I would have just did, man, my life could have been so much better. And man, I just never wanted to have those regrets. I mean, even though it wasn't always perfect along the way, I mean, I was a young guy, I had a little bit of challenges, but the truth is, man, so happy that I kept it. So for you to go through two companies that went out of business, you're like, I mean, what were you thinking? I mean, who tries a third one? Like at that point, people are going, this doesn't work, dude. Don't do that crap. They're all scams. What was going on in your mind, man?
I think what it boiled down to, there was nothing else I wanted to do, just have the tenacity in it. And actually, this is my fourth company, because one company I left. I was with one company for 7 years and I resigned. And dude,
why did you resign? Like, what was that?
That's
like, what happened?
That's a totally different situation. That company, and they're still in business today, they were just so freaking old school, bro. Like literally, they PBRs every night, 3-way calls all day, every day. The top leaders had no life. They were anti-social media. And the truth is, I was there 7 years, not 7 months, not 7 weeks, 7 years. And I look at my whole team and I'm like, nobody's winning. I'm the only one winning. And I felt like there had to be a better way. And I started doing my research. I started to become a student of the industry. I'm looking at all these different companies and comp plans and products and systems. And I'm like, I'm going to quit network marketing, which would be sad if that would have happened. But I was thinking, I'm going to quit network marketing if I can't find a way to build it from home. if I can't figure out a way to like build it from home, at least most of the time, like I love events, I love traveling, I love supporting teams and going, having different experiences, but being out every night and every weekend was exhausting. And they were so against social media. It's crazy.
I was literally having this conversation with somebody yesterday, and I said, the whole Zoom thing has changed my life. I mean, really, because again, we were that company that, you know, you go to people's houses, you travel across town in traffic for 3 hours trying to get somewhere, and then the guy doesn't show up. You know, that's my life, man. That's 20 years of my life, right? And then you go, oh my God, like I could have been sitting at my dining. I mean, I'm not even kidding. First time I ever ran ads was last year. I did Facebook ads last year.
Nice.
And it was the first time I ever did a funnel. I never advertised my entire career in all the years. And I'm sitting here in my dining room with my laptop doing Zoom after Zoom. And then I was like, done. And I'm like, what do I do with the rest of my time? I just saved like 3 hours, an hour and a half there, an hour and a half there, driving around town. I just saved 3 hours. What do I do with these extra 3 hours? I mean, it really is a game changer. And then social media, where people are coming to me now. So give us some tips on how do we get people to approach us? Because I'm telling you, this is the issue with everybody in network marketing, any business. We just don't have anybody to talk to. All my guys are trained. They all know what to say. They know every overcoming objection known to man. They just don't have anybody to talk to us. Please help us, John.
You know, it's fascinating, right? They don't have anyone to talk to. And I love that, because I'll be like, oh, cool. Well, how many Facebook friends do you have? I'm like 1,000. I'm like, 1,000, man. Back in my day, it was like make a list of 100. So you got 1,000. So how many of those people have you talked to in the last, let's say, 6 months? I'd say 90 days, but let's expand it out to 6 months. How many of those people you talked to in the last 6 months about your products or opportunity? And typically people respond with 5%, 10%, 2%. I'm like, well, so what's wrong with the other 90%? You know, and it's funny because obviously what they mean is I don't have anybody coming to me asking me for information. Nobody's raising their hand, which is why you want to learn marketing and learn how to create content, be a content creator. You can learn to educate. You can learn to inspire. You can learn how to entertain. I like entertainment. I like to have fun and teach people a little something. But, you know, when you start showing up with your personality, your style, you know, you're telling stories, you're impacting people. Again, I would rather teach than pitch than sell. I like to, you know, show people a better way to do something. But at the end of the day, it's also connecting with people and being okay with proactively reaching out to people. Like if I'm friends with you on Facebook, I should be allowed to message you. I should be allowed to talk to you. And if someone is weird about that, or someone has a problem with me reaching out, and I'm not always reaching out to pitch my business. In fact, most of the time I'm not. I'm reaching out to connect, create a conversation, maybe create some curiosity around my product or opportunity, see if they're open, depending on where the conversation goes. But every time I have a conversation, that's a seed planted. That's a relationship where I'm like depositing into my social equity with that person. And then as I create curiosity, as I tell stories, as I do my videos, I post in my Insta story, my Facebook story, I record a reel or a TikTok. That's watering those seeds. And at some point, they're going to be like, wait a second, what's that product? Wait a second, what's that business? Or they're in a business, because now we've created all these other income streams. They're in a business, they're happy with it, but they want to learn the social media side. They want to learn how to market and prospect the right way without being annoying, without turning off their friends and family, and showing up with a value that can be a value add to people. And that's a whole other conversation people get caught up in. They're like, what's my brand? How do I provide value? I think, honestly, it's too hard to determine without just doing the work and showing up consistently. I'm sure that's how you figured it out. Like when I first was trying to figure out my brand, honestly, I was so in my head about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to start doing videos. I'm going to start posting things, sharing ideas, sharing tips, sharing advice, sharing things I'm learning, sharing things I'm passionate about. We'll see what happens. And luckily, I didn't get in my own way too much. And I just kept doing it and getting better at it. And I will say this, one strong advantage for me early on is that because I had some experience in network marketing and I could kind of talk and share tips on network marketing, I would actually have people that were in other teams sharing my stuff and thanking me for the value I was providing. So that was an advantage for sure in those early days to help me build up my confidence.
I mean, I think that's phenomenal, man. I mean, it's so important that you get this thing right from the beginning. You get the mindset right, you get the focus right, you get the mentorship right, you get the coaching right. How important is it for people early on to be coachable?
It's everything. Now, most people aren't, right? I remember I heard one time this leader said, he goes, you're frustrated with people on your team, because it was all leaders in the room. He's like, you're frustrated with these people on your team that are uncoachable. He goes, really, they're just uncontrollable. And he goes, the truth is, those are some of the best people. He's like, most of you were uncontrollable, uncoachable in the beginning. And I was like, yeah, I definitely was. And sometimes you need people to fail. You need them because we learn more from our mistakes, right? We learn more from failure. So I failed my way to the top. And even though I was uncoachable in the beginning, the good news is when I was making the mistakes and doing all the wrong things, I was always willing to come to my upline and ask questions and ask how I could do things better. And I remember in those early years, she would say, because I had an upline, a female upline, and she was just, man, she would just say it like it was. And she'd say, excuses or results. Are you bringing me an excuse or are you getting a result? Because you can't make money and make excuses. Choose wisely. And she just always got into our head about staying positive and being consistent and, outworking negativity and all these things that very early on I had never heard before, that still 20 years later, I still remember a lot of what she shared, a lot of what I learned from her. And of course, other leaders in the company as well. But she was like my sponsor's upline. So him and I would learn from her in those early days. And it was just so impactful, but I was uncontrollable, uncoachable, like did my own thing, would try all these different ideas, and some worked, some didn't, but I learned from my mistakes. And I would always come back to, whether it was in that company or years later, even still today, if I have a question, if I have an issue, like I'm never too big or too successful. I mean, we literally make hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. And I still look for coaching. I still invest in courses and invest in myself and go to seminars and try to get better. And anytime that I feel my ego flare up, I'm like, no, you're not the best. You're not the end all be all. Yes, you're very good at what you do, but there's a lot of very talented people out there. And maybe you could use some help on this one thing, or, maybe you could have someone else come in and assist you with this situation, with this team, with this person, with this, scenario. And I think one of the best things you can do, whether it's, draw a line in the sand, moving forward today, or, relaunching your business, your ego ain't your amigo. Like the sooner you can just succumb and say, I'm going to be coachable. I'm going to give things a try. I'm going to just, I'm going to be willing to fail and do the things my mentor, my company, the system is teaching me to do. And just, have blind faith that things will work out. I think that was like the thing for me, man. It was just like, I was so fearful of failure, and I just wanted to do things that I was more comfortable doing. This was a big reason I had fear of public speaking. I didn't want to go up there and mess up. But the truth is, the only way to get good at that is by doing it, right? Just taking action.
What's ignorance on fire?
Yep. Oh, what is it?
Yeah. What is ignorance on fire?
Ignorance on fire is better than knowledge on ice, right? And I think that the thing is, when people are brand new, they go out there and they talk to everybody. They're saying all the crazy things they shouldn't be saying. But I would prefer somebody that is, again, making the mistakes, talking to a bunch of people, saying stuff that's not even true. You're like, dude, that literally, you just literally lied. Like that was way off. But it's funny because that person is so excited that they're signing people up. They're getting customers. They're getting results. Meanwhile, you got someone else over here that's like analysis paralysis. They got to understand all the levels and the ranks and the ingredients and all the stuff. And it's like, bro, you're literally in your own way. And right now, your story sucks because you took 30 days to do your first post. You took 30 days to prospect anybody. And now everyone's going to do what you're doing. So the sooner you get into action and you fumble and bumble your way through the system and figure things out as you go, earning while you're learning, eventually you'll get to that point where you're not ignorant anymore. but you also have the results, even though you did it all wrong.
Oh man, that's just, everything you're saying just reminds me of the early days in the business for me, and the things that I've been teaching all these years. Like, look, people are watching you. They're watching your behaviors, and they will do what you do. I mean, leading from the front, John, I mean, were you that guy that always led from the front?
In the early days, I did a lot of recruiting. I wasn't the best like leader. I wasn't always like sitting up front, taking notes. I was never willing to go in front of the room. I hated the idea of speaking in front of people, all these things. But nowadays, I mean, I out recruit my whole team. Now it's very rare that I'm number one for the month out of like 18,000 people. Right. But like over the course of the last 6 years, every year on my team, I'm in the top 3. So I'm always one of the top recruiters on my own team, leading by example. And there's always a couple people that beat me every year, right? Because there's someone that comes in and enrolls a ton of people right out of the gate. But over the test of time, and I'll mess with them. I'll be like, dude, remember when you were like crushing me when you first got started? Like I was 6 last month and you were 12. Like I'll mess with some of my top recruiters, but I think it's hugely important to lead by example. Like do the things you wish your team were doing. So if you wish your team would sell and do more one-on-ones or do more calls or do more recruiting, like do the things you wish your team was doing. Like if you wish your team did a better job of recognition, you do a better job of recognition. So whatever you lack, you attack and you say, you know what, this is something I'm going to focus on this month because our team isn't doing a great job of this, that, or the other thing. So let me go out there and show them how it's done versus just telling them what to do.
And I love that, how you will poke people to raise their level of competition. And you need that as a leader. We always have to nudge people in that direction because people are people, you know, and most people think like employees. If you don't tell them what to do, if you don't, you know, spur their, you know, competition, you know, piece of their body to get them to move, a lot of times they won't move and they won't find out how really good and special and awesome they really are. And so they never give it their all because nobody ever really, because I remember even my upline, he used to always, like, I would, you know, call him at the end of the night and say, man, I just wrote a $78 life app or whatever. And then he goes, yeah, that's great, man. But Rick wrote a 115. And then he would, you know, like, hey man, good job. Bye. You know, and then he would hang up and I just like this in my stomach, like mother, you know what I mean? And I used to get pissed and then I would get on the phone and go set up more appointments and I would but thank God I had people that pushed me, that kind of played with my, you know, the psychology of it for me to keep me going. That was a really, really important thing. And so,
and you need to find people that motivates you to level up. Like, don't be bitter, get better. And don't be frustrated. Don't be frustrated, get fascinated and say, you know what? Daniel's killing me. Let me learn from him. What's he doing every day? How's he building his business? Like, it's so funny how people, and it's kind of like your friend you talked about earlier, right? Your buddy, I think it was Adam or whatever, right? Yeah. Like he was probably peanut butter and jealous. Like, let's keep it real. He was jealous of your success instead of being like, and this is what I was talking about with the ego. Like, you got to swallow your pride and be like, you know what? Maybe I could do a better job of, you know, talking to prospects. Maybe I could be a better question asker. You know, maybe I could do a better job of working with my team or doing incentives or doing promotions, or, you know, maybe I could bring in some outside trainers, like, so I can start my own podcast and interview people, like, you know, stepping up and realizing that first of all, there's always someone doing better than you. There's always someone doing better than you. Even if you're the top earner in your company, there's people in other companies that are making more than you. And if you're the top earner in all of network marketing, there's company owners out there that make more money than you. There's always someone doing better than you. And the truth is, you should use that as fuel for the fire. That should inspire you to show you what's possible instead of being like, oh, woe is me. Like, you know, I did a post on Facebook and it only got 33 likes. Like, why can't I get as many likes and comments as Daniel? Like, because Daniel paid the price. You haven't. He's been at it longer than you. His content's more interesting than your content. You know, so working on you and figuring out how you can get better. And I think that only happens when you surround yourself and follow people that are further down the path than you. And it's like, you know, it can be definitely discouraging sometimes. Like the competitive juices in me, it's so hard to turn off. Sometimes I'm like, damn it, I'm so pissed that so-and-so, you know, ranked more people this month than I did. But it's also a good thing because it keeps my feet to the fire and keeps me motivated to keep going.
So social media is scary for people and they don't post. And so are there a couple of, like, what are some of the mistakes? Because you and your wife, man, do such an amazing job on social media. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Your content's so good. It's so valuable. I learn so much all the time. And so what are a couple of mistakes that you see people making on their pages, you know, in social?
Yeah, I think people, number one, they don't post enough, or they post too often. And now somebody's gonna say, well, how often should you post? I think once a day on your news feed is suffice. And then in your stories, I would say 10 times a day. In your stories, 10 times a day, little story clips. And I think you need to follow the 80-20 rule, which is something Gary Vaynerchuk's been teaching for years, right? Jab, 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 right hooking. And I think it's paramount that you create curiosity around your business, your product. You tell stories, you talk about the benefits of your service, your product, your opportunity, whatever. But you do it either in a nonchalant way, you do it in a value-driven way, you do it with education. A great example would be if you sell products, you could do some education on losing weight, getting in shape, like eating smaller portions more often, drinking water, and oh, by the way, find a quality supplement, right? So leading with value, leading with education, leading with entertainment, right? If you can make them laugh, you can make them buy. Funny equals money. So putting yourself out there on a consistent basis, but knowing that 80% of the time it should be, you know, lifestyle, it should be value, it should be, you know, like this morning, I did a post of my son, Dylan. It's his first day back to school, first year, or his junior year. So first day of his junior year. And it's the first time he's back in school for the first time since COVID. So, you know, I posted that on Facebook and, you know, it got really good engagement. It had nothing to do with my business, but it gets the conversation going. It warms up the algorithm. And then I can post something that might have something to do with my product or business, because now I've built that social equity and I've created some curiosity or conversation around my lifestyle, around who I am and what I do. And I just think sometimes people get in their own way overthinking social media and how to show up. And I got to tell you, man, TikTok recently has been game changing for us. Like I've got people on my team that are literally selling 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 a month in product through straight up cold market on TikTok. So if you can find the platform that you love where you are going to show up consistently and you're going to do the work, whether that's short form videos, live videos, selfies, maybe you're like, you know, the kind of person that doesn't like to be on camera, but you can write out your content. You can tell stories that are interesting, that are captivating, but you won't know if you don't start doing it and just figuring out what works best for you. I would say 30 days. Give yourself 30 days showing up every day and test out different conversations, and you'll get a feel for what your audience engages with and what you enjoy talking about.
Good stuff, man. Very, very valuable. I hope people pay attention to that because, you know, your brand, your social credibility. I mean, it's a new world. Let's be honest. I mean, we are moving into this age where it's digital, man. I mean, yeah. we're living. I mean, look at us. I mean, we're hanging out. You're on the other side of the United States. I'm in California. You're in Maryland. We couldn't be farther apart in the United States. And we're having a conversation, and by the way, isn't it interesting how similar we are in so many things, just so many of the thought process, everything. Like we couldn't be farther away, and we're so similar and close. You know what I mean? And so I love that. And there's so many relationships that people are missing out on because they're just not willing to press that record button.
Right.
Like get in the habit of pressing record, having a conversation. I don't care if it sounds good because nobody sounds good in the beginning, and just do it. And who cares what people think about you? So this is so, so valuable. I just want to know, as we start to kind of wrap things up, how important though, John, because I know you have a beautiful family. You take care of your family. I know you've done well financially. You make a lot of money, millions of dollars a year. But the truth is, like, how important is it to become financially independent? Because, you know, people, they just want to impress people with stuff. But how important is it for you to get financially free with investments and making sure you're doing the right thing with your money? So, you know, if anything did go, you know, if anything went bust, man, you don't want to have to do this again. You don't want to have to start over at the bottom again. You know what I mean? Right. So talk to us a little bit about your thoughts about money. That's kind of what I was.
Well, you know, and you kind of talked about this earlier, and you're like, you know, how'd you keep going after you had multiple companies fail? And it's, you know, I remember Mark Cuban said one time, and it just stuck with me. He's like, you know, it's really hard to become a millionaire, because the good news is if you do it right, you only have to do it once. And I was like, damn. So that's why I just kept going, because it's like, who cares? Just, you know, keep going. Eventually, if you do it, then you've done it. And now, not only that, once you've done it, you can do it again and again. Like if I had to start a new network marketing business, God, I hope I never have to again. But if I did, I would know how to build it in a big way, because I've been on the other side of it, right? That's number one. Number two, you got to create passive income. You need to find things. And I love what Warren Buffett says. He says, rule number one in investing money is don't lose money. Rule number two is don't lose money, right? It's like, go back to rule number one. So with that being said, though, anytime money leaves your bank account, there's a chance it might not come back. But I think it's so important that you set yourself up and you get financially educated. And that's why they should follow people like you, because this is the stuff you teach and preach, and it's your expertise. Because the truth is, making money is great, but it's more about how much money you keep and how you can get your money working for you. And that's one thing. And I'm actually really grateful that I've seen so many people over the 20 years. And this is why I became a student of network marketing and network marketers, and seeing what they've done right and wrong. And I've seen a lot of big earners, and you know this to be true. They make a lot of money and they spend just as much as they make. And they're behind on their Rolls Royce payment. They're behind on their yacht payment. And it's like, I didn't want to be stressed. I think I heard, it was maybe Tony Robbins, I don't remember who it was, but he goes, your goal should be to live on like 20% or less of your income. And I think that's such a good lesson. Now, some people are going to go, well, that's not possible. Well, yeah, it is. If you make more freaking money, it is. Like, get to work. That's why you're watching or listening to this podcast. Like, work on you, work your face off, outwork your competition. Stop watching freaking TV and wasting time, you know, on Netflix and all the things that people do. They go on social media and they're watching other people live the dream. They're going to football games or watching ESPN, watching other people pursue their dream, watching movies, other people literally living their dream, and you're watching them versus creating your own dreams, and then being smart enough to say, you know what, if I make $1, I got to get at least half of it working for me, or a fraction of it working for me, so that I can have eventually time and financial freedom. Because what's the point of making a whole bunch of money if you're spending it and you're being stupid with your money, trying to impress people you don't know, buying things you don't need? It just is a constant problem that I see in America, specifically in America, because there are times where, you know, let's be honest, the market's been really good over the years and people are very loose with their money. We're printing money, doing all these stupid things. And I think it's important to diversify and create smart investments, passive income streams. And again, like I said, get your money working for you, because at some point you're going to want to know that if you lost your primary income, or you lost that active income you're building, that your passive income, your investment income, is making you more money than your active income. Like, that's my goal. Like, I want to make multiple 7 figures from all the things we're invested in, where, yeah, I still am going to build my business, because what else am I going to do all day? I love doing this, but I want to know that if it goes away, or God forbid, I can't work or something happens, like, I'm good. And more importantly, my kids are good. My family is good. That's why we're trying to do our best job to make wise investments. Now, with that being said, we still splurge and have fun and go on, you know, vacations and dinners. And, you know, you still want to invest money in experiences as well. Like, you don't want to be, I don't like the, and I'm sorry if this is one of the books you recommend on the show, hopefully you don't, but like, I don't like the mentality of like the millionaire next door, where they just like penny pinch everything, coupon cutting, just like, you know, live way below your means for years and years and years to one day on paper be a millionaire. Like, I don't like that mentality, but I also don't like the, you know, you make 100,000 a month and you spend 120. right? Like, that's just stupid. It just makes no sense. So being really smart with what you're doing with your money, the money behaviors that you have, and more importantly, you're teaching your family, you're teaching your kids, like even our team, like I try to get them to understand the value in multiple income streams. That doesn't mean multiple MLM income streams, but that just means saying, hey, you know what? Let me use my money to make me more money and figure out ways to invest my money so that while I'm actively building my business or businesses, because some have traditional businesses or they have a job or whatever that looks like, they can also create that passive long-term income in other things outside of their business.
Well said, John. Well said. I love hearing people talk about investing, passive income, multiple streams of income, because look, the truth is, I mean, at one point in time, I've been in the industry for 25 years. I was financially independent at 28. I've been semi-retired for 18 years now. I love what I do. I love the fact that I could give investment advice and teach people about how to protect their families with life insurance and things like that. But the truth is that I didn't want to have to do it. I wanted to do it because I loved it, not because I had to do it. I didn't want to be that 60-year-old guy, right, carrying around my briefcase, going house to house, trying to make a sale, you know what I mean? Or that guy, and so I wanted freedom. And so I did live a little bit like the millionaire next door in my first probably 5 or 7 years of the business. Yeah, I really crunched it because because look, the truth is, I didn't know if this company was going to be around. I didn't know it was going to stay around all these years. Who knew what was going to happen? And so I really, really focused. Like I needed $1 million because I knew at 10%, I can get 10%. That's $100,000. I was making 14,000 when I started. Okay. So I figured if I had 100,000 a year, right, I would my life would be great. Okay. That's my thought was back then. And but when I got there, I was able to go, all right, man, I got here. At least my family's safe. Yeah. They're okay. My future's okay. And now we can just go have some fun and build on it, and experiences, travel the world, take care of the kids, have the fun, beautiful homes, nice cars, whatever you want. And, but at all the while, believe it or not, like you said, a lot of people, they don't think they can live on the less of the percentage, but just go make more money. So I just said, I'm gonna go make more money. I'm gonna go build it bigger. I'm gonna go recruit more. I'm gonna go, train more leaders and open up more locations and create more streams. And so, man, John, this has been so much fun. I want to know more about you and they want to know more about you. So tell us how to get a hold of you. What value can you bring to the table for some of the people that are watching or listening?
I think the biggest thing we bring to the table is teaching people social media. And, obviously I love doing interviews like this, but I think most people are probably visual. So we actually created a social media guide that is now, obviously I'm biased, but it doesn't mean it's not true. I think it's the greatest free resource for a network marketer wanting to build their business, leveraging social media, because we are all about duplication. If you ain't got duplication, you ain't got a network marketing business, right? The reason you've been 25 years in one company, achieving success, building teams, doing something you're so good at, so talented, so passionate about is because you figured out a way to not just work the business for you, but help other people and create that duplication, because that's the name of the game. If you want freedom in network marketing, you need independence, meaning you need people that are independently building their business outside of you. But the truth is, social media is still kind of a new animal. It's still a new beast, and it's always evolving and ever changing. So on our website, mylifestyleacademy.com, we have our blog, we have our social media guide, our YouTube channel, our podcast, and there's a lot of structured training with PDFs and visual aids. I think a lot of people just like to have something in front of them they can print off, or something that they can follow along. So we have a lot of that on our website, mylifestyleacademy.com.
Good stuff, man. John Melton, you're a stud, man. Love the connection. Love learning from you. Thank you so much. And as always, everybody that's watching, listening, you need to follow John. You need to go check him out on his Instagram. They got a killer Instagram. And you know what? Do me a favor and just reach out to him and say, hey, John, I met you through Daniel Alonzo, and that was an incredible YouTube. It was an incredible podcast. And I just want to reach out to you, John, and say hello. So go say hello to John. Go comment on his stuff. Go like his stuff. Go subscribe to his channels and everything. And make a new friend. And hey, worst case scenario, you learn something new. It's always great making new friends. But as always, continue to dream bigger than ever. Most importantly, get after it and do it now. God bless you. We will see you at the top.